Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Here with Mark. I want to introduce what we're going to be doing here on a kind of weekly, bi-weekly basis. Today, we're going to learn more about Mark, what he was doing before kind of putting the company together, and a little bit more about his background. But going forward, we want to definitely chat about recent news, where the company's going, and we want to answer any questions that people might have. So please, if you've got questions about the company, drop them below and we'll make sure it gets in here. But Mark, first things first, how are you?
Great, thank you. Everything's well. We're enjoying the great summer, so all is good.
Yeah, hot summer for sure, but awesome. Glad to hear. Usually like to kick things off with like first jobs or so out of school. If you can remember, but usually like to kick that off and kind of, really what made you get into the mining industry is kind of the goal, and then we'll go, what you did before kind of putting the deal together.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I guess starting off, I was a kid. I had a paper route, probably one of the worst paper routes in the world, but the longest paper route with the heaviest papers. But so I started that route, and then I moved. That was in Canada, Montreal, and then I moved over to London, England. And during off summer holidays, I'd worked at a gas station. I worked at a hospital cleaning dishes. I worked as a moving man for my last summer job before college. And in college, I worked as a bank trainee in Toronto. And but basically got involved in the securities business more than anything. When I moved to Brazil after I graduated from university, and taught English over there, and at the same time did my security course, Canadian securities course, and then moved to London and started my career as a investment banker, I guess, in London.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's really hustling from early days. I also had a paper route, as crazy as that sounds. But really just always doing something and kind of touching a bunch of things. And then you get a kind of entry level investment banking in London. And talk to me, were you in certain industries? Were you looking at resources?
Well, I started in London. I started, when I first moved from Brazil to London, I went through the headhunter kind of route, and in those days, basically, I acted as a courier for Chase for a couple of days. I didn't like that, and I moved on. And then I actually was the first employee by a firm called Drexel Burnham Lambert, English employee hired in London. Drexel Burnham Lambert, you may or may not recall, was one of the stellar investment banks of the 80s in the U.S., run by a guy called Michael Milken, who made about $800 million a year. When $800 million was worth a lot of money. But from there I went to RBC and got involved in the Canadian side of indirectly I got involved with RBC.
So much moving without Brazil, like Canada, Brazil, London, Canada. Why so much moving? Just curious, or is it just, hey?
Well, my father was a long-term royal banker and on the international side, so I kind of trailed along him and until his final job was running the Brazilian operations after I graduated. So I went there to see Brazil and to learn a little Portuguese and teach some English, and that was cool. It was very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. Well, no, like good story. I had to ask. So, okay, now we're you're back in Canada. Now keep going, I guess.
Yeah. So when I left London, I was myself and a colleague were running the first marathon office in London. I left there in late '95 and got involved with the venture capital group out of Montreal. And then in '98, I moved to Toronto and started up my own small merchant bank. And the merchant bank, in the late '90s, excuse me, we were, the mining sector died, and so we were all doing biotechnology and whatnot. And then in 2002, I was very fortunate to become part of the founding group of a company called Desert Sun. That we had a market cap of about 10 million when we started it, and basically sold it to Yamana in 2006 for $700 million. And along the way, I subsequently started a company called Largo Resources, from a hole in the ground. Basically, that now is a $1.2 billion company, but we funded it from the exploration. We funded the resource, the construction, and got into commercial production. And then I left to restructure a company called Sierra Metals, which has assets in Peru and Mexico. And I was there for a couple of years, and we managed to turn around the operations. We took it from 200 million to about 600 million valuation. And then I came, in 2017, I was the founder of a company called Ascendant Resources. And also I founded Cerrado Gold. And Cerrado Gold was very interesting because there was a couple of friends out of Brazil who I knew well, and their brother I knew better. He was actually the head of the DMPM, or the mining agency in Brazil. And one of the brothers basically was a geologist, and he had a partner. And they're actually, I watched their growth. They were the discoverers of a project called Volta Grande, which today is Brazil's largest discovery of 7.4 million ounces. And I watched that from 2002 to 2010. They told me in 2002 that it was going to be 7 million ounces. Here we are, it's 7.4 million ounces. And then in 2017, they came to me and said, hey, take a look at this asset we have. We think there's 5 million ounces. Actually, they came back saying that they thought it was 5 to 10 million ounces. But so basically, the team that we've had together since Desert Sun that I've worked with, went from Desert Sun, went to Largo, and then everybody kind of came and jumped on board at Cerrado, and led in Brazil by Kurt Mencken. And Kurt Mencken was the mine manager for Anglo for Desert Sun's project, the Jacobina project, which is now Yamana's one of their top projects. And then we started Largo together and built Largo, the Maracás Mencken mine, and now we start Cerrado. So back to the gold element, which Kurt loves, and which his career is based on. So we're having fun. We're a group of builders. We like to build. We're not big promoters, but we know how to tell the story. But the reality is we like to build things. We like cash flow. We're just, all we care about is driving cash flow.
Yeah. Well, what a story. Holy smokes. That's an incredible career. Congratulations. I know you're not done yet. But here I have to ask, how do you get the lucky person to get the CEO hat?
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's not so lucky, right? But no, it's been, it's been a pleasure, and we've been working as a team for the most part with guys for 20 years. And we've been building to the team over the years, and we've just had a recent kind of a few guys. Some guys have made a lot of money in Cerrado, and they decided to move on and get out of the business and do other things. And we brought in a new crew of guys who are excellent and good addition. But I guess in terms of I don't know. That's a good question. I'm just very fortunate to surround myself with very talented and smart people, and I get to sit here and do nothing.
You're gonna do interviews like these. No. Well, awesome. Well, here, I have to ask, as kind of the last question. We'll do a deep dive into the company and a bunch of the, kind of recent news you guys have had. And I want to invite anyone with questions, please, because those videos are coming. Walk me through what your day-to-day, week-to-week looks like as the CEO. And I know you jokingly say you do nothing, but I'm sure you're wearing a ton of hats, doing a ton of things. Would love to hear what kind of your week-to-week looks like.
I mean, really, the main focus of my day-to-day stuff is just bringing everybody together. And one thing that we've always done, and I think that motivates our employees and such, is everybody has their own autonomy. They have their own cylinders, I guess, or areas of expertise in which they focus on, and that's their area. And so my job really is just like a conductor of an orchestra, just to make sure that everybody's bringing their pieces together at the right time. And mostly, mostly when I get involved on operational stuff tends to be when there are problems. But no, it's been a thrill. It's been a thrill working with the people I work with, and I don't work a day of my life, which is wonderful.
Well, I love it. Well, your passion is very clear. So, Mark, I want to say thanks so much for taking the time. And, we're going to do a lot of cool videos going forward, talking about the region, talk about recent news, you name it. And there'll be some good stuff to come. But Mark, thanks so much for joining. This is a great first intro video.
Hey, thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.